Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Denver Psyche School podcast and show. And it's always good to start things off with a little amusement,
As you cackle like a madman?
Yeah, that's actually a topic that I'll be teaching tonight. Is emotions and amusement. So this is all fitting. My name's Andrew Fritz, and this is my co-host and
wife,
business partner. Yeah, that's for a lot of things. So,
what did I say?
Welcome back. Glad you're tuning in. Hopefully, you're tuning in. Otherwise, we're just kind of talking to ourselves in a camera. But that's all good. So today we want to talk about the limitations that we run into when we start from a place of wanting and shifting towards having the thing that we're perhaps wanting. Because inevitably those limitations or walls or barriers will start to pop up, and that can be very difficult to navigate and frustrating and all sorts of stuff. So we're going to kind of talk about that. It should be kind of fun.
Well, and they always come up in really weird ways. That's the thing I've always noticed, is they just come up in odd ways.
Yeah.
It never comes up the way you expect. It always just kind of comes up and you're like, okay, why is that there?
Yeah, and usually you start things off pretty optimistic, and finally I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write about this thing, about what I'm wanting, and doggone it, I'm definitely going to have this, and it's going to happen. I'm going to bring it to life, and then suddenly you start to hit the walls, and that's always a load of fun. So sometimes it's like the Incredible Hulk. It's like you run up against the wall, and then you kind of build up all this, courage and power to break through the wall, and then what happens? You run up against another wall. Yeah.
Why the Hulk? Because the Hulk uses anger.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes anger will help.
I love that you're like you just run up against a wall and then you build up, and I'm like, oh, Hulk builds up when he's angry.
Yeah.
Hulk goes smash when he's angry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a topic I'm talking about tonight, is emotions, and anger is one of them. And it's not really a quality of spirit, but it is a useful emotional energy that you don't want to get stuck on, but that you can use to your advantage to power through some energy. So
True.
Anger you'll definitely probably get angry when you hit a wall. It is frustrating. But if used in a proper way, you can use that to break the barrier down and find your next limitation. Until you blow through all these walls, that's like I have this image of Hulk kind of just smashing through a series of walls, and then ta-da! Like finally, however long it took, and then boom! Okay, finally I have the thing I was wanting. And sometimes that takes days or weeks or years, and who knows, lifetimes. Hopefully, just in the same life, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So with this topic of running into limitations, so coming up in different ways. So like, let's just start with a simple example.
Yeah.
So say you're like, okay, I'm not going to drink for like a month. You're like, okay, I'm going to take, because a lot of people do this for New Year's, and with it being February, a lot of people are like, oh, I had dry January or dry February or whatever. And they're like, okay, I'm going to take this time not to drink. It's always interesting to me that like that's always the time when everyone's like offering to buy you a drink, or like your friends at work are like, hey, let's go get a drink after work. Or
when you decided not to.
When you decide not to drink, and then all of a sudden that's when all this alcohol just becomes very available to you. Like after a Super Bowl party, everybody's like, oh, I had this leftover 30-pack that they left in the hotel room. And if you work at a hotel and you're a housekeeper, like, oh, you have all this alcohol handy. Or because I work at a hotel. And I'm not a housekeeper, but that is something that's come up, is that a lot of, like, I just, like, oh, I'm making the decision to be healthier, and then all of a sudden, there's booze everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it wasn't my decision not to drink, but of course, in accordance with trying to be healthy, you're not supposed to be drinking. But yeah, all of a sudden, all this alcohol, just like a guest, literally was like, we bought this, we were going to drink it, here, you can have it. And I'm literally like, this isn't what I asked for.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so sometimes the opposite of what you're wanting starts to pop up and appear, as challenges or obstacles or limitations, if you will, to the thing that you're kind of really needing or wanting or whatever. Yeah, definitely. I mean, health is the kind of what you're talking about. Sounds like it's a topic related to health. Yeah, I mean, usually just the act of just, hey, I'm gonna get healthier, and just I'm gonna go to the gym, and it's just like you're gonna have some of your own resistance. You know, sometimes we always want to make it about everybody else, but yeah, sometimes it's just owning up and going, yeah, I kind of resist this. Like I would rather just a million other things, but putting on the gym shoes and gym shorts and all that, and going in there and just doing it. And as we all know, when we finally just work through it, just show up and just do it, we start to, oh, okay, I feel better. It's just initially like just the thought of doing it is like, it doesn't sound too good.
I don't want to go.
Yeah. So then there's your initial, this topic of health, of just going to the gym, working through your own resistance to it, resistance to something changing or shifting. But that's how, like, the average person, I guess, and most people in society today that's how they maybe create a little space for themselves, and how they start to get their energy and movement. And what we've learned and what we're teaching essentially is that you can, without even moving your physical body, you can run energy throughout your energy system, these channels and chakras in the body, in a meditative state with your eyes closed, kind of turning your attention inwards. And the same thing with meditation. You can run into resistance to that. So,
oh yeah,
resistance is fun. We'll do a whole other show for that one. So,
yeah. I was gonna say resistance is a limitation. So in a way, it is kind of related.
Sure.
Because I know I run into the meditation one. Like I'll get off work, I'll cook dinner, I'll sit, I'll eat, and then I immediately just want to completely space out. I just want to unplug from the world. And instead of like working through the energy and actually meditating on it and working through it, I'm like, no, it's easier to just turn on How I Met Your Mother and just space out completely and not, so that's, that is a limitation. Like I could grow so much more spiritually, and I can grow through the day and move out what's in my way so much quicker and easier if I just did 10, 15 minutes of meditating.
Yeah. It's just the resistance to all the stuff that you've handled through the day, especially in the work environment, from customers and coworkers and bosses and all that kind of stuff. And so sometimes it's just not wanting to have to like work through it, confront all that energy in your space. But yeah, same thing with working out. Once you just kind of sit down and just do it and work through it, and then I got your energy and flowing, and you got a little bit of space and feel better, and they even sleep better that night. Who knows? So,
right.
But yeah, kind of like we've kind of got some personal stories and some shared stories about this topic of limitations popping up, even a little bit of resistance along with that. In that kind of journey of wanting something and shifting to actually, boom, I have it, or it's real, or having the experience of it all. So for me, a personal experience with this, and it kind of ties into intuition, especially kind of on a higher intuitive level, different levels of intuition. But as a young kid, I kind of always knew that, I wanted to, or I knew that I needed to leave my hometown. But that's all I knew. It was just like this little speck or pebble of awareness. I was just like, oh, I know I need to leave my hometown. I don't know why or where I'm going or when or any of that. It's just, that's all I know. And I don't know how I got it. And I mean, looking back, I know how I got it, but like, it's just your knowingness, right? We all have that higher intuitive knowing, if you will. And so I ran into I wanted to leave my hometown, right? And I just ran into a lot of blocks, a lot of limitations. At the time I was dating someone, and it's, someone my parents really liked. And so there's a lot of energy around that kind of keeps me, with your family, they want you to stay close and be safe and see you, and that's totally normal and all of that. So there's that. And then, this relationship I had at that time, and the strong energy to kind of keep me tied to my hometown. But again, there's this wacky me at a young age, it's just kind of like, I know I need to leave. And, I ran into a lot of blocks. My kind of logical thinking process was that the only way I thought I could leave was that if I went to college. I don't know why it didn't dawn on me that like at that age it's just like, oh, you just save up some money and then you have enough money and maybe apply to some jobs or just take a leap of faith and go drive somewhere wherever you want. I've always was drawn towards the West. I remember working at a grocery store, and every time I was driving to work, I thought, maybe I just won't go to work. I'll just keep driving west. That thought popped up many times. But yeah, I ran into some walls with that. But my thinking was that I had to go to college. I didn't think that it was just easy as saving money up and leaving that way. It was I had to go to college, and that was my ticket out. And I just kind of defaulted to kind of staying home and kind of starting with like community college and another local college. I played it kind of safe for a little while. I was kind of exploring. Eventually, I kind of found a way to get out, and it was an art school in Chicago. But even before that, I was making an attempt to go to Florida. It's kind of like big kind of art, more like a technology type school, kind of art/technology school. And I was driving there with a friend, and it was probably in North Carolina. We were not very far from my friend's family member's house we were going to stay with, and then the rest of the next day kind of finish up the trip all the way down to Florida. But I ended up getting into an accident. There was a car. I was a massive highway, and there was this car that flew past me, and it cut off the car in front of me, and then it stopped really fast. The car in front of me managed to see it all and stop without hitting anything, but me, I just went right into the back of this, I think it was a minivan, just totaled the front end of my car, and there's maybe, I don't know, like a scratch on the bumper of this car that I hit, and I was just baffled. And people were like honking their horns, and
Talk about hitting a wall.
a literal wall. Yeah. So yeah, this was the energy. Like I was just trying to go to Florida to this school, and looking back at it, initially it's frustrating. It's like I feel crushed and devastated. I didn't reach my destination. This is where I was trying to get to. But yeah, basically, instead of all the money I had saved to go check the school out and put a down payment on, I took that money to get my friend and myself back home to Pennsylvania. So that just kind of got blew up. So that was frustrating. That was running into a wall. But at the same time, in retrospect, I kind of look and go, I'm actually glad that happened. Because eventually it led me to finally getting out and moving to Chicago, where I did go to an actual art school there for writing, creative writing, which then I met my roommate there, and that led me to going to a psychic school and starting to learn visual meditation, taking these kind of clairvoyant trainings. Mm-hmm. So even though that was devastating, the Florida school not working out, it was kind of like a blessing in disguise, actually. But there was a lot of resistance, a lot of energy and walls, just from me in my hometown, eventually just getting to Chicago, to the art school. And it was interesting, even in the art school, we'd sit in circles, and we would, read parts of like stories, or the teacher would read, something, could be a story or one of our pieces of our work, or we would do the same thing. And sometimes the teacher would say things like, in your mind's eye. I was just like, what is that? And I don't think anybody really picked up on that. But it was just kind of funny. It was like very much foreshadowing me ending at this psychic school and actually using my mind's eye. So yeah, that's some of the personal story around just like, okay, I know I need to leave, and I also, I wanted to leave. I was very adventurous spirit, wanted to explore and get myself out there. And it took a lot to get there, but I eventually did. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. But do you have a personal story with this topic?
Of course.
Yeah.
Mine is also kind of around leaving my home. I was in college. I was all set to, I had matched in with my parents hard, that I was all set to get married, do the white picket fence thing, get a job in agriculture. I grew up on a farm, and so I got a degree in agriculture, long story short. And I was like, oh, I want to live close to my family. And, knowingly, it was like, looking back, that wasn't really my picture. That was more my family's picture. I love my family. A lot of people misconstrued like, oh, if you don't want to live near your family, you must hate them. And that's so not the truth. But I wanted, everything blew up for me that I had planned. Like, it was like, oh, I was, engaged and set to be getting married. That relationship blew up. And I finished school. I got my degree. And I was applying for all these agriculture jobs, but none of them were coming to full fruition. I had applied to 6 agriculture jobs, and none of them came to full fruition for me, either by lack of experience or because they thought I was too young or they thought I didn't have the right knowledge or whatever their reason was for not hiring me. And there was a girl from my home area who I just really admired her. She was really smart. She was vibrant. She just had a lot of life to her. And I knew that she was doing well in her life. So I just reached out to her and I was like, I'm getting ready to graduate college. I need to figure out what to do with my life. Everything that I thought I wanted is kind of blown up. What do I do? And she's like, well, you seem like a really fun, adventurous person. I was like, yeah, I am. And I, always had that in the back of my head that I wanted to travel and do things. But there was all this resistance from my friends and my family that I'm supposed to stay close to home. Traveling's always been something I wanted to do, but it was always very shut down from an early age that oh, only rich people get to do that. Only privileged people get to do that. Us farm people don't do that. We work hard every day. We don't go have vacations. We don't go do that. That was so I never even pictured that for myself, that was something I could go do. And so she's like, well, there's this seasonal job out in Colorado. You should apply. I have a girlfriend who went and did that, and she loved it, and she, it's one of her favorite jobs she's ever had. You should just go have an adventure for 6 months, because I think the seasonal jobs were just for 4 to 6 months or something. Mm-hmm. She's like, you should just go have a blast, have a great summer. Careers will always be there. You can always figure it out later. Just go have some fun. And so I applied to 6 agriculture jobs and that one seasonal gig, and I had so much anxiety, and I just kind of put it up, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to trust that whichever job calls me is the one I'm supposed to do. I did. I just kind of put it out there. I was like, okay, God, I'm just going to put this in your hands. It's going to be hey, all right, I'm just put it out there. Whatever's meant for me will come my way. And I honestly didn't think the seasonal job was going to be it. I honestly thought it was going to be something else. None of the other jobs called me. The seasonal job was the only one that called me.
Nice.
So yeah, that was.
We have similar
Yeah.
We don't need to name the actual street, but we grew up on basically the same street.
Mm-hmm.
And we both were engaged in our hometowns.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a strong sense of just stay in your hometown.
Stay.
If you do leave, which you shouldn't, you should probably come back.
Yep.
And I think it's sometimes tough for families when they have a child in the family unit that's very adventurous and kind of the black sheep a little bit. It's I'm gonna go,
No, we're the colorful sheep, don't we?
Oh, right. Yeah, rainbow sheep. Yeah.
I was like, no,
Yeah.
I don't identify as that.
Yeah, but basically kind of the outcast a little bit. But just the
A lot of controlling programming.
sure, yeah. But we kind of, I think that's what we bonded on. It's kind of we're both adventurous souls and spirits, and I personally enjoy, especially the early part of it. Just basically being able to explore on a physical level, travel, that kind of leads into our kind of
Our next one.
our
Our next story.
next one, yeah.
Our combined story.
Yeah. And but also kind of like the inner exploration. That's what our school's all about. That's something that I kind of enjoy always. I think I'll just always enjoy that. It's just kind of exploring kind of inwards and just learning and growing for that journey, that process. But so another topic would be when we were in Pennsylvania. We lived there for a few years. We originally came there just to film a movie, basically called like The Witch of Evansburg, I believe. And it was supposed to be like a full-length film, like super low budget, and just like everything was not going to plan. Nothing was really working out.
Nothing came through.
Running into a lot of blocks.
We scouted locations. Everyone goes, "Oh, it's a horror film." No.
Yeah. That deterred a lot of people. So we ended up doing it. It just went from a full length to just a real short. I think we did it in like 3 parts or something like that, but just real short videos. And so then we're like, all right, while we're here, we need to get jobs and work. And we're just kind of staying with family at the time because we didn't really think we were going to be there for a long time. It was just kind of like, hey, let's show up, let's film this, and then we'll take a look at our next step where we're going to go from there.
Actually, originally our plan was to do the film and then move to Denver.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
I was like, actually.
That's funny.
I was like, hold your breath. So yeah, this story of exploration and hitting a lot of walls and being in Pennsylvania, we went to do the film. And we were like, we need to make money. And we just kind of were like, you know what? We're going to move to Denver and start a dog walking or dog daycare anyway, because that was kind of our goal. And so we just decided, we're just going to start it here in Pennsylvania. We'll get some good reviews. That way our website's all juicy and got good stuff on it. And we'll get some experience and we'll make some money while we're here and, yada, yada, yada.
You want that good stuff in your website. Yeah. Little do we know that, I was very determined that I'm not, at that point in my life, I worked a lot of different jobs for other people, and I very much wanted to like break out of that and like, okay, I want to work for myself for once. I worked for other people. I've done like the independent contractor thing. That was kind of nice, but I was like, okay, I want something that's like mine or like ours, like, And I was just determined. I was just like, nope, I'm not getting a regular job.
Everyone was telling us about jobs. Like, hey, this place is hiring, and that place is hiring, and we were just like, no.
Yeah, I was just like, nope. I was like, we're gonna just start walking dogs and making some money. And little did I know that it was just gonna blow up. Like, we started to get one client after the other. And we started to we'd sit down in meditation, kind of just in 2 chairs like this near each other. We'd sit in meditation and do mock-ups, kind of something that we teach, just a technique on, it's related to this topic, if you need something or want something, you do a kind of visual technique to start the process of manifesting that. And it would work, we would get a call or an email and all sorts of opportunities and doors opened up, and our business grew rapidly. And it was just kind of like, whoa, we're actually like, I was very used to failure, and like now suddenly success is like plopping down, right on our laps, and wasn't in a place that I was expecting, and we just kind of decided to ride it, and we did that for, how long did we do that for?
2.5 years?
A little over 2 years. We had a dog walking business called Dogs, Cats, and Rock and Roll. I thought that was a really fun name. Some people literally just
picked us based on our name.
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of cool. And then eventually we grew to a point where just like we were working 7 days a week. Towards the end, we kind of shimmied it down to 5 days a week. But we were ready to have a little more freedom, and we wanted to travel. Going back to travel, just adventurous spirits. And so we decided, okay, like, I don't want to just stop, I don't want to just send an email saying, hey, people, clients, we're not doing this anymore, adios. We wanted to, pass them along to someone that could continue the services that we provided, but also sell it so that we can, use that to our next step, which would be, adventure and travel. And that's what we did, but we set that intention. The first, I think we ran into a particular couple that wanted to buy our client list, and they kind of lowballed us. We had a set amount that we wanted to sell it for, and they gave us a lower amount. And it was kind of terrifying because, we decided to say no to them. We're like, no, that's not what we're asking for more, and you're not hitting that for us. So we said no, and there's a lot of fear of oh no,
did we just say no to the only opportunity? Because it wasn't a really big area either. Where our service was located, it wasn't a big city. It wasn't like there were tons of.
Yeah, it wasn't a major city.
No.
We weren't in Philadelphia.
No. We were in a suburb. And so it was kind of a small area, and there weren't a lot of, there were quite a few dog walking companies, but probably not all to the scale that we were.
Right.
And so we were terrified that maybe we weren't going to find anybody.
Right.
But,
so we thought maybe just, did we just blow our opportunity at, making anything from our business? And we put a lot of hard work into it. So a lot of energy into that. But luckily someone else, we encountered someone else that was interested in it, and they kind of were able to come to the table with and offer what we were asking. So it worked out to our advantage. But there was kind of an initial oh no, we just maybe shot ourselves in the foot here. But it did work out. And kind of, I guess we ran into a similar energy because I was in my hometown. You kind of still run the energy of people that love you, don't want you to, hey, I'm used to you doing this thing, and you have a really good thing going, stay close to us. We like that. And
well, even our clients, they loved us. Our clients loved our service.
Yeah, we had a great relationship with our clients. So there's a lot, and we had a lot of clients.
Yeah, we did. and we had a lot of people who were resisting us leaving the area.
Right. And I think we're used to that energy of no, you're not supposed to move on or change or,
Yeah, it's like stay.
Right. So that's a lot of energy to work through. A lot of kind of walls to kind of, energy to work through. Everything's energy. But yeah, we were able to sell that client list, and that's what enabled us to
buy our RV.
Yeah, we got a fifth wheel RV, and we used that and took a big risk of not really knowing what was going to happen. And my God, driving, towing a fifth wheel like that for me is terrifying. I've never towed something that big.
I had, but
yeah, I never had that. So that was pretty interesting. We had some interesting experiences.
Well, even just owning a truck.
Yeah.
Versus having a car, and then having the RV and how to maneuver that and how to park that and everything. And this guy actually got better at maneuvering and parking than me, which I don't mind admitting. Because you're a better driver than me anyway. Most people get butthurt about but nope, you're a better driver than me, so I'm fine with admitting that.
No. But it's just a big transition. We went from stationary, having our own business, letting that lifestyle go. Got very comfortable and familiar with what we were doing, and there was growth and abundance with that. It was all working. There's success. So it seems kind of from the outside perspective, kind of seems stupid to just why would you leave that for something super risky, so to speak, of just you're gonna have one vehicle. There's two of you. You're gonna have an RV.
And you're living in it full time.
You're living in it full time with a cat and a dog. You're gonna travel around the country. How are you gonna live and survive and make money? And at times it was challenging, and but we made it work for the most part. And we got to have a lot of beautiful experiences that, if we didn't take that risk, we would have never had. Got to see a lot of cool places and a lot of hikes, and it's amazing. It's
and a lot of time together too. I think that's probably my favorite part of that whole experience, is that I got to wake up next to my best friend and spend my entire day next to my best friend. We spent every waking minute together. And to some married couples, that sounds like a nightmare. But
are you talking about the pets or me?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So,
But yeah, that was probably my favorite part. Is that it really bonded our marriage even more.
yeah.
Like we got to learn and grow together too. I think we had an experience that a lot of married people don't get. Because a lot of married people, they get married and then they have their separate jobs and they only have their evenings together and their weekends together. We got to have 3-4 years of just every day together all day long.
Yeah, it just depends on. I don't think there's a right or wrong
No.
situation for each couple is unique and how they certain situations and scenarios will work better for others.
I was just saying it was a very unique experience.
No, it was. It's one I'm glad that we had. But yeah, there's some risk, some leap of faith involved in that. Trusting ourselves, just going with it, and just working through the resistance and the walls. Going from wanting something and eventually we had it. And even with this, our business. I mean, I think we talked about it last time, maybe just before the pandemic, starting to think about, we want a space for yoga and some readings and teaching a little bit. And, the pandemic, that pops up. And that's a massive wall. It's like, okay, suddenly, what we're doing with our funds starts to change. And
we had I was working 4 jobs. You were working full time. We had about $5,000 saved that was just supposed to be used for the business. I remember that. I was crushed because I had my heart. I was working every single day, and that's really hard to do anyway. And I had it. I was I just kept it in that picture in front of my face. That's okay, I am working towards having a yoga studio and a meditation center and a school. This is what I'm working towards. So this is all worth it. All this exhaustion, all this no time off. It's all going to go towards this. And then COVID. And so we had to use the money. We lost all of our jobs.
Yeah, I think I was. Because you were working a lot of jobs. You were very busy. I think I was just working full time as a housekeeper. I was part-time teaching clairvoyance. And I think then we lost our jobs to the pandemic.
And we had to use all the money we had saved for surviving. And just to pay bills, just to buy groceries, just to pay rent, just to pay for the electric bill. We had to use all that money just for surviving. And then our business shifted, and we had Greenlight Yoga at the time.
Yeah, that was the start of Greenlight Yoga. That was teaching. Everything was online based because obviously at that time we wasn't going to have a physical space. That kind of went out the door real fast. But it's. I think I started teaching before the pandemic hit.
Yeah, you were teaching.
Beginning of 2020, part time, and then we got shut down March of 2020. Yeah, so it was I was only teaching part time, so it was one of those things where it's it was getting to the point where it's okay, Andrew, you need to figure something out. You're going to need a job here. We're just going to dwindle out. And all I could think of at the time, we were up in the mountains, so there's not a ton of opportunities. It was just all right, go work at the local grocery store. That's an essential job. They need people. They're going to pay. But at that time, it was the beginning of this pandemic. There was immense fear. It was just oh God, working right in the public and all that. And I was just all right, I'm teaching part time, and I was just I was just thinking, what if I just go for this? And it's not. I've done this before in the past, and it's worked. And or I took a leap of faith with this, just leaving a regular job and just I'm just gonna teach. I'm just gonna go for it. And decided to do that. And there's a lot of fear, a lot of walls that pop up of oh no, if you don't survive or you're a failure and all this kind of stuff. And but it worked out actually. Worked out kind of in our favor and got more and more students, and it kind of again turned into a bigger thing where I could just focus on teaching, and that's all I did for a while, and it was very fulfilling. But
then we hit another wall.
Yeah. There's always another wall. That's the beauty of this is that when you hit the wall, it feels oh, this is terrible. It's gonna feel that way. It's not pleasant necessarily. But just kind of stepping back and recognizing that, oh, okay, well, what's on the other side of the wall? And reminding yourself of what's on the other side of the wall. And that's the beauty of being able to turn within and use your clairvoyance, where you can see clearly And that becomes an inspiration of, okay, I'm not going to stay here and be stuck. I'm going to
Break through the
I'm going to be the Hulk, and I'm going to. Not that you have to use anger all the time. I'm just playing. Just a fun image, and blow through the wall, and okay, I get to have this next level, whatever it is, small, big, whatever.
And our next level was to actually have a physical space, finally.
Yeah. I mean, we were traveling for a while, a little bit, and then we were in Utah. But yeah, we closed down Greenlight Yoga, which is just online base. You know, enough space, you know, in time kind of from the pandemic. Things kind of not necessarily going back to normal, but you know, shifting out from all that. And now we in Denver, Colorado, we have a physical space. So it took a couple of years just to actually have the thing we initially were wanting. So that's a lot of time and, you know, energy and walls to work through, and boom, here we go.
Well, and even though like that sounds like a detrimental thing, it's like, okay, our goal was to come to Denver way back when we started the dog walking. And now we're finally here. That seems like a lot of things and a lot of walls and a lot of energy and a lot of crap that just got in the way of us getting to this point. But if you really think about it, like we just weren't in a space of having it just yet. We were working through each of the limitations, because the amount of things that we grew through, that we learned, that we developed between that space, I don't think, like, I think if we had gotten it instantaneously without breaking through all the limitations, it wouldn't be what it is today, or it wouldn't. We just wouldn't be where we are and the people that we are. Because
I'm certainly glad we got to have that adventurous experience on the road. But you, when you go through all those walls, you know, again, not always the easiest or fun, but like you tend to appreciate and be grateful more after you've blown through these walls and have the thing. You know, then you go, okay, like. I'm glad I kind of was able to work through all that, and I'm appreciative and grateful that like I have this.
Because a lot of people, when they hit the limitation, it's like, oh God, is this even worth it? Because I'm just speaking from my own experience. Like just with like eating, just food. Like I'm supposed to, you know, be staying away from dairy and gluten, right? And it's like, okay, I'm supposed to be. This is supposed to help, you know, with my body healing and getting, you know, my hormones balanced and getting better. I'm supposed to stay away from gluten and dairy. And what always shows up at work? Donuts and muffins and all the gluten things in the world. And then, of course, you know, like ice cream and all that. Like, why is everybody bringing that stuff to work? So it's one of those, and of course, I fail. There's times where I fail, where like, because it's been a rough morning. I'm dealing with crabby people, and it's just a bad morning. And it's so easy to just pick up the donut and eat it. Yeah. And so, and I know I would appreciate myself so much better if I would just hold my boundary and be like, no. So I'm still working through my limitations on that. Like there's always limitations. It's always a journey. But I know once I break through that and I actually like hold steady, I know it's going to be like, okay, this is, you know, it's worth it. I'm getting there. I'm trying to get stronger every day. So I don't want anyone listening to us to think like, oh, I hit a limitation, like fuck it, like oh, I hit this wall, it's too hard, I can't see what's on the other side of the wall, what's the point, you know? And that comes up when you hit a wall.
That's normal, that's fine.
And so you know, it is. So I'm just like, just keep going, you know, just keep freaking going. You're gonna break through that wall eventually. You know, don't give up on what you're wanting just because you hit some resistance and some limitations. Like if there's any really big message from this whole thing is like, don't stop. Just keep going. And even if you have to take a second to sit and think about it, because like we closed Greenlight in May, and then we didn't open it.
April of last year.
Yeah.
And we took some, I mean, we were wrapping up things in Utah and moved to here, and we're getting set up here. So there's a little bit of a transition time of the old and moving into the new space, or new energy and new city and all that kind of stuff, jobs. But yeah, it's I'm sure you can relate to certain things and kind of your journey from whether it's small things or big things, you know, from wanting something to actually having it, and kind of the journey from A to B, and the walls, the limits that you run into. We all experience these things. But yeah, I think just keep on going, keep on trucking.
And just remember, it's all energy.
Yeah,
It's all energy.
exactly. And it's just the tough thing as you're growing and changing. It does get challenging. And it's just reminding yourself. That's what I have to do for myself is remind myself, okay, what am I growing towards? Because when you hit the wall or walls, that's all you're thinking about is hitting this wall. I'm stuck. I'm frustrated, and that's all the energy you're in. It's just reminding yourself, wait, what am I growing towards again? What was the point of all this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what was I optimistic about in the beginning of the journey?
What was I excited about? What was the good thing?
Yeah, and then just going, oh yeah, that thing. Okay, yeah, all right, and then just kind of reignite the fire and kind of plow through. But
Hulk it out.
Hulk it out. I like that. Yeah. No, that's great. I think this is good. We want to try to keep these episodes
Short-ish.
digestible and kind of short, so
I
we
was
don't
gonna say,
take
I know
up too much time.
I feel like we kind of babbled on a little bit, but we've had a lot of walls. So it's like,
Yeah.
I feel like every step we take, wall, this way, wall.
It's all right. That's just then you just know. Okay, what's the treasure,
Right.
on the other side. So
And anything that's worth it takes time and is a little harder. If it comes really easy, you might not have the same amount of gratitude for it than if you have to work through some crap to get there.
yeah, even just doing this podcast, the walls and energy, just to sit down, record, and talk. Maybe in the future we'll add bloopers and all that kind of stuff. Because sometimes it's not always hitting record and everything. Actually, today was pretty good.
I
But
was
yeah,
gonna say.
I'm sure in the future we'll have some goofs and mess ups, and we'll include those just for fun. So look forward to that, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care.